the chosen one, and a queen. Destined lovers torn apart by the dark side. But what if I told you their connection went deeper than love? What if the Force itself bound Anakin Skywalker and Padmé Amidala together in ways even the Jedi couldn't understand? A Force Dyad, two that are one. We've seen it with Rey and Kylo Ren. But what if this rare, powerful bond existed generations earlier? What if it was the key that could have prevented Darth Vader's rise and saved the galaxy from decades of Imperial rule? Before we dive into our alternate timeline, let's understand what a Force Dyad actually is. A Force Dyad is one of the rarest, most powerful connections in the Force. Two Force-sensitive beings who share a bond that transcends physical space. They can communicate across vast distances, sense each other's emotions and pain, and even transfer physical objects between them. As we saw with Rey and Kylo Ren, a Force Dyad creates a power equivalent to life itself. They could appear to each other across the galaxy, fight while physically separated, and ultimately, Kylo even transferred his life force to Rey. But here's the crucial detail. Force Dyads don't require both individuals to be Force-sensitive in the traditional sense. The bond itself can awaken latent Force abilities in someone who might otherwise seem disconnected from the Force. So what if Padmé, while not a Jedi, carried this potential within her? And what if her connection to Anakin, the Chosen One, activated this latent ability? According to ancient Jedi texts, Force Dyads were once believed to be the true manifestation of balance in the Force. Not one all-powerful individual, but two connected beings sharing their strength. The Sith later perverted this concept with their rule of two, creating a hollow imitation of this sacred bond. Some Jedi historians theorized that Force Dyads naturally emerged in times of great galactic upheaval, when the Force itself needed to concentrate its power to maintain balance. The era of the Clone Wars and the rise of Darth Sidious would certainly qualify as such a time. And who better to form this connection than Anakin Skywalker, a being literally conceived by the Force itself, and Padmé Amidala, whose compassion and wisdom represented the best qualities of the light side. The signs were there from the beginning. When 9-year-old Anakin first met Padmé on Tatooine, he instantly recognized her, despite her disguise as a handmaiden. "Are you an angel?" he asked. A strange question that hints at something deeper, as if he sensed something otherworldly about her. Remember, Anakin was uniquely powerful in the Force, with the highest midichlorian count ever recorded. If anyone could subconsciously detect a potential Dyad partner, it would be him. During the Battle of Naboo, despite being separated, both displayed remarkable intuition. Anakin, with no formal training, destroyed the Trade Federation control ship, while Padmé executed a flawless plan to capture Newt Gunray. Coincidence? Or were they already drawing strength from each other? Notice how during Qui-Gon's funeral, Anakin and Padmé stand near each other, both somehow composed despite the tragedy. The camera lingers on them as if sensing their unique connection amidst the sorrow. Their farewell at the end of The Phantom Menace is particularly telling. As they look at each other one last time, there's a subtle visual cue. The light catches both their faces in exactly the same way, a directorial choice that subconsciously links them for the audience. 10 years later, their reunion sparked immediate recognition and connection. Despite Anakin's awkwardness, their bond quickly deepened beyond normal attraction. Remember when Anakin sensed his mother's suffering from across the galaxy? This heightened Force sensitivity emerged after reconnecting with Padmé. And notice how Padmé instinctively understood his pain, comforting him in ways no one else could. And when Anakin faced Dooku, Padmé sensed his defeat before anyone told her. She even clutched her arm at the exact moment Anakin lost his. These weren't just moments of love. They were manifestations of a Force bond growing stronger by the day. But the Jedi, focused on traditional Force usage, completely missed it. Their secret wedding on Naboo marked a crucial point in the development of their dyad. Notice the ethereal quality of that scene, the golden light, the perfect stillness of the lake. The Force itself seemed to be blessing their union, But what if it was actually their dyad bond manifesting at this moment of profound connection? Throughout the Clone Wars, despite being frequently separated, Anakin and Padmé demonstrated an almost telepathic awareness of each other's situations. Whenever Padmé faced danger, Anakin sensed it across the galaxy. This wasn't just love or coincidence. It was their dyad connection strengthening. And have you noticed how their emotions often mirrored each other? When one experienced intense feelings, the other simultaneously felt the same, a classic trait of Force Dyads. There are several instances in the Clone Wars where Padmé displays unusual persuasive abilities during negotiations. While this could be attributed to her natural diplomatic skills, it bears striking resemblance to Force persuasion techniques. Was she unconsciously drawing on Anakin's abilities through their bond? In multiple episodes, Padmé seems to sense danger moments before it manifests. Her political instincts often saved her life in situations where even experienced Jedi were caught off guard. This heightened awareness aligns perfectly with Force sensitivity. Meanwhile, Anakin's powers grew exponentially during the war, far outpacing his fellow Jedi. The Council attributed this to his status as the Chosen One. But what if his connection to Padmé was amplifying his abilities? What if their dyad was allowing him to draw on her strength, her clarity, her compassion? But here's where our alternate timeline diverges. What if Padmé had recognized these experiences as Force sensitivity? What if, instead of dismissing them as coincidence or intense love, she had begun to understand her connection to the Force through Anakin? Picture Padmé secretly attempting to understand these experiences, perhaps even meditating like she'd seen Jedi do, trying to consciously reach out to Anakin through their bond. Perhaps she even researched ancient texts, discovering historical accounts of similar bonds. As a senator with access to the Jedi archives, she could have uncovered knowledge about Force Dyads that even the Jedi had forgotten. Did Obi-Wan sense something unusual? There are moments when he looks at Anakin and Padmé with confusion, as if perceiving something in the Force he couldn't quite identify. As Anakin's master and friend, he was more attuned to changes in Anakin's Force signature than anyone. The discovery of Padmé's pregnancy marked another evolution in their dyad bond. Carrying Force-sensitive children would naturally heighten her connection to the Force. Anakin's prophetic nightmares about Padmé's death take on new significance in this context. Was the Force trying to warn them both? Were these visions flowing through their dyad connection, perhaps distorted by Palpatine's dark side influence? Palpatine must have sensed something unusual in their connection. As a master manipulator and powerful Sith Lord, he would have recognized the potential threat a Force dyad posed to his plans. Note how Palpatine increasingly worked to separate Anakin and Padmé, physically and emotionally, during Revenge of the Sith. He kept Anakin occupied with Jedi missions while planting seeds of doubt about Padmé's loyalty. He recognized that their bond could be his undoing. Their last peaceful moments together are filled with unspoken tension, not just from the political situation, but from their dyad connection being strained by Palpatine's influence. They can sense something is wrong but can't quite identify the source. Now we reach the crucial moment where everything could have changed. In Revenge of the Sith, with Padmé pregnant and Anakin having nightmares about her death, their dyad connection would have been at its strongest. When Palpatine tempted Anakin with the power to save Padmé from death, he was exploiting what he perceived as Anakin's weakness, his attachment. But in our timeline, this attachment is actually a source of unprecedented power. Notice how Anakin appears conflicted rather than immediately enticed by Palpatine's story of Darth Plagueis. Part of him resists the dark side narrative. What if this resistance stemmed from his dyad connection with Padmé, her light side energy acting as a counterbalance to Palpatine's darkness? In our alternate timeline, Padmé doesn't remain passive. The moment Anakin sits beside Palpatine at the opera, she feels a sudden chill, a disturbance rippling through their dyad connection. For months, she had been conducting her own investigation. Using her senatorial clearance, she had gained access to obscure corners of the Jedi archives that even many Jedi rarely visited. Ancient texts spoke of force bonds that transcended ordinary connections, pairs of force users whose combined power was exponentially greater than their individual abilities. One particular scroll described what the ancient Jedi called two that are one, beings whose force signatures harmonized so perfectly that they functioned as a single entity in the Force. The text noted that in such rare pairs, even an individual with minimal force sensitivity could access tremendous power through their connection to a stronger force user. Each night, while Anakin was away, she had practiced meditation techniques described in these texts. At first, nothing happened, but gradually, she began to sense echoes of Anakin's emotions, glimpses of his experiences, confirming what she had suspected since their reunion years earlier. Now as Anakin sits with Palpatine, she feels his turmoil intensify in a way she's never experienced before. It's not just confusion or stress, it's a fundamental conflict that seems to tear at the very fabric of their connection. Something is happening that threatens not just Anakin, but their bond itself. And in this moment, she realizes that her research, her preparation, has been leading to this. She isn't just a politician or a wife or a soon-to-be mother. She is one half of something ancient and powerful, something that Palpatine, for all his manipulations, has failed to account for. Without hesitation, Padmé dismisses her handmaidens and retreats to a small alcove in her apartment. This space, minimalist and peaceful, has become her sanctuary for exploring the Force bond. Her breathing slows, becoming deep and rhythmic. For months, this process has been difficult, requiring intense concentration just to feel whispers of their connection. But now, with Anakin's emotions in such turmoil, the bond between them pulsates with unprecedented strength. The ancient texts described this, how Force Dyads often fully awakened in moments of crisis, when one half faced a pivotal decision. It was as if the Force itself strengthened the connection when it was most needed. Padmé pushes past her normal limitations, no longer just passively receiving impressions but actively reaching through their bond. She sees fragments at first, Palpatine's face, distorted and sinister. The Opera House, strange tales of Sith Lords and unnatural abilities. She feels Anakin's temptation, his fear for her life, his confusion as loyalties pull him in opposing directions. Suddenly, everything becomes clear. The nightmares, Palpatine's convenient story about Sith powers over death, the growing darkness she's felt around the Chancellor. It all connects. Anakin is being manipulated, drawn toward the dark side through his fear of losing her. The irony isn't lost on her. Palpatine is using Anakin's love for her as a weapon, twisting it into fear. But that same connection, their bond, could be their salvation. If fear could flow through their dyad, then so could strength, clarity, and reassurance. She focuses on everything she knows to be true. More importantly, she concentrates on her absolute certainty that whatever threats they face, they would face them together. No prophecy, no vision, no manipulation would determine their fate. Across the city, as Anakin makes his way back to the Jedi Temple, with growing conflict in his heart, he feels something unexpected cutting through the fog of fear and doubt. Padmé's presence, stronger and more deliberate than ever before. Not just emotions, but thoughts, intentions, and an overwhelming sense of clarity. For the first time, he recognizes what has been developing between them all along. A connection in the Force itself, powerful enough to withstand Palpatine's careful manipulations. As the Jedi prepare to arrest Chancellor Palpatine, having discovered his true identity, Anakin feels the pull of conflicting loyalties. Palpatine has been his mentor, has promised him the power to save Padmé. But through their dyad connection, Padmé now offers something more powerful than any Sith technique. The truth that she doesn't need saving through darkness, but partnership through light. Rather than simply waiting for Anakin to return, she actively reaches out through their dyad bond, sending feelings of reassurance, love, and strength. She doesn't know exactly what's happening, but she knows Anakin needs her support now more than ever. As Anakin stands with Mace Windu confronting Palpatine, torn between the Jedi and saving his wife, he feels something unexpected: Padmé's presence through their dyad. Not just her presence, but her strength, her resolve, her confidence that together they can find another way. The manipulative visions Palpatine had been feeding him begin to dissolve as the pure energy of their dyad connection flows through him. Through their bond, she shares a countervision, not of her death, but of their children growing up in peace. The raw power of their dyad connection breaks through Palpatine's manipulative visions. Anakin resists the dark side. With renewed clarity, he doesn't interfere when Mace Windu moves to arrest Palpatine. The Sith Lord's lightning is reflected back upon him, revealing his true deformed appearance. In his final moments, Palpatine realizes his fatal miscalculation. He never accounted for the power of a Force Dyad. His expression shows dawning recognition that such a bond existed between Anakin and Padme, a realization that comes too late. With Palpatine exposed and defeated, the Clone Wars finally end. The Senate, freed from Palpatine's manipulations, negotiates peace with the remaining separatist leaders. The Jedi Order, confronted with Anakin's role in defeating Palpatine and the unprecedented nature of his Force Dyad with Padme, must reconsider many of their most fundamental teachings. Yoda, humbled by how close the Jedi came to destruction, acknowledges that perhaps their understanding of attachments had been too rigid. The dyad between Anakin and Padme hadn't led to the dark side. It had saved them from it. Obi-Wan, who had suspected Anakin's relationship with Padme but kept his silence, now advocates for his former apprentice. He argues that the Jedi must evolve, must learn from this experience rather than deny it. And so, when Luke and Leia are born, they come into a galaxy vastly different from the one we know from the original trilogy. They are not separated at birth and hidden away, but celebrated as symbols of a new understanding of the Force. Both show tremendous Force potential from an early age, benefiting from balanced training that incorporates the best elements of Jedi tradition while discarding outdated restrictions. Anakin, never having fallen to the dark side, becomes one of the greatest Jedi Masters in history. His understanding of the Force, enhanced by his dyad connection with Padme, allows him to reform Jedi training methods to be more compassionate and balanced. Padme continues her political career, becoming one of the most influential leaders in the New Republic. Her unique perspective as both a skilled diplomat and someone connected to the Force through a dyad brings new wisdom to galactic governance. Their family becomes a living example of what the Force truly meant by balance, not the elimination of emotion or attachment, but the harmonious integration of all aspects of life. Light and dark, emotion and serenity, individual and community, all in balance. This balance extended beyond the Skywalker family. Throughout the galaxy, the reformed Jedi Order began establishing new temples, not as isolated enclaves, but as integrated centers of learning and community service. These temples welcomed Force-sensitive individuals of all ages, regardless of their background or family attachments. The artificial division between Jedi and the populations they served dissolved. Jedi now openly formed relationships, had families, and maintained connections to their homeworlds, all while dedicating themselves to galactic peace and justice. This new approach created deeper trust between citizens and the Jedi who protected them. With Palpatine's manipulations revealed and the Clone Wars resolved through diplomacy rather than continued bloodshed, an era of unprecedented peace spread across the galaxy. Former separatist worlds, no longer fueled by Sidious's machinations, found common ground with the Republic through honest negotiation. The most significant change came in how the Jedi understood the Force itself. Anakin and Padmé's dyad became the subject of intense study, leading to new insights about balance. Rather than seeing the Force as divided between light and dark sides, Jedi began understanding it as a unified whole, with various aspects that must exist in equilibrium. Luke and Leia embodied this new understanding. Luke inherited his father's raw power and intuitive connection to the living Force, while Leia manifested abilities more attuned to empathy, foresight, and the unifying Force, qualities that echoed her mother's natural talents, enhanced through the Dyad connection. Padmé's role evolved as well. Her latent Force sensitivity, awakened through the Dyad bond, gave her unique insights into diplomatic negotiations. She could sense deception, understand underlying motivations, and project a calming presence that diffused tensions before they escalated into conflicts. For Anakin, the freedom from Palpatine's influence allowed him to finally explore what being the Chosen One truly meant. No longer pushed toward either extreme of the Force, he discovered that his destiny wasn't to destroy the Sith, but to transcend the artificial divisions between light and dark, to become a living embodiment of balance. This new paradigm even extended outward to other Force traditions beyond the Jedi. The Guardians of the Wills, the Night Sisters of Dathomir, and other Force-using cultures that had been marginalized or hunted by both Jedi and Sith found themselves welcomed into a greater community of Force users, each bringing unique perspectives on the cosmic Force. But every light casts a shadow, and in this new timeline, with the Jedi Order evolving and the Skywalker family thriving, another threat lurked in the darkness, the legacy of the Sith itself. The Sith were more than just Palpatine and his apprentices. Their order had existed for millennia, operating by codes and principles far more complex than the simple rule of two that most understood. What hidden knowledge had the Sith accumulated over thousands of years? What secret practices and rituals gave them their power? And most importantly, what unwritten rules govern their pursuit of dominance over the Force? While Palpatine may have been defeated, the dark knowledge he possessed wasn't destroyed with him. Ancient holocrons, forbidden texts, secret temples, all still existed, scattered across the galaxy, waiting to be discovered. These artifacts contained secrets beyond imagining, techniques to cheat death, to drain life force, to bind spirits to physical locations, powers that operated in direct opposition to the Dyad's life-giving energy. Even in this alternate timeline where Anakin never fell, the shadow of the Sith looms. Their legacy exists as a constant temptation, a dark reflection of what could have been and what might still be. Someone is collecting this knowledge, piecing together the unwritten rules that made the Sith so powerful for so long. Rules that go far beyond always two there are, intricate philosophies and methodologies that allowed them to nearly conquer the galaxy multiple times. The Jedi believed they understood their ancient enemies, but there was so much they never knew. Principles of passion and strength that gave the Sith their resilience. Methods of channeling hate into power that sustained them through defeat after defeat. What were these unspoken rules that governed the Sith for millennia? How did they preserve their knowledge through countless purges? And what would happen if this knowledge fell into the wrong hands in this new timeline? That's a story for next time. If you've enjoyed this journey through an alternate Star Wars timeline, there are more untold stories waiting to be discovered. Join our growing community of Star Wars enthusiasts who believe in exploring these what-if moments that could have changed the galaxy far, far away. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and activate notifications to catch our next alternative Star Wars story. Each tale offers a new perspective on the characters we love and the choices that define them. Remember to share your thoughts in the comments below. What other pivotal moments in the Star Wars saga would you like to see explored differently? Your ideas might inspire our next adventure. May the Force be with you, always.